I watched them through the doorway, my son Michael and his wife Vanessa, sitting on the leather couch my late husband Frank and I had bought 30 years ago in downtown Portland. Their suitcases stood like sentinels beside them, already claiming territory in a house that still smelled of casseroles neighbors had brought after the funeral 3 days prior. Michael wouldn't look at me directly. Vanessa sat with her legs crossed, scrolling through her phone with casual indifference. I had just buried the man I loved for 53 years, and now I was standing in my own foyer feeling like an intruder. "Mom, we've already decided," Michael said, his voice flat and rehearsed. "From today on, your place will be a nursing home. We've looked at several facilities. Maplewood Gardens has an opening next week." The air left my lungs in a way I hadn't experienced since the doctor called to tell me Frank had suffered a massive heart attack. But this was different. This wasn't grief. This was betrayal dressed up as concern. Vanessa finally looked up from her phone, her expression somewhere between impatience and pity. "Margaret, it's for the best," she added. "This house is too big for one person. You're 75 years old. What if something happens and no one's here to help you?" I opened my mouth to speak, but Michael cut me off. "We've already contacted the realtor. The housing market is strong right now. We can get a good price, and the money will cover your care facility costs for years." The responsible thing. As if the 47 years I spent raising him, the college tuition Frank and I scraped together, the down payment we gave them for their first house could be erased by financial logic. I looked at my son, searching for some trace of the boy who used to climb into my lap during thunderstorms. That boy was gone. "I see," I said quietly. I turned and walked down the hallway toward the bedroom Frank and I had shared for half a century. Behind me, I heard Vanessa say something in a low voice, followed by Michael clearing his throat uncomfortably. I closed the bedroom door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. The room still held Frank's presence, his reading glasses on the nightstand, his favorite flannel shirt draped over the chair. I crossed to the closet and reached up to the top shelf, my fingers finding the small mahogany box Frank had shown me 2 months before he died. "If anything happens to me, Margaret, you open this," he had said. "Everything you need is in here. Promise me you'll open it right away." I pulled the box down and carried it to the bed. Inside was a thick manila envelope with my name written across it in Frank's careful handwriting. A smaller sealed envelope marked "To be opened first," a USB drive, and a set of keys I didn't recognize. I opened the smaller envelope first. "Margaret, my darling wife. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm so sorry I had to leave you. But I need you to listen carefully. I've seen things over the past year involving Michael and Vanessa. I didn't want to burden you while I was still here, but I couldn't leave you unprotected. Everything in this box is insurance. The USB drive contains documents and recordings. The keys are to a safety deposit box at First National Bank, Box 847. The large envelope contains instructions and legal papers already prepared by my attorney, James Morrison. His number is at the bottom of this letter. Call him immediately. He knows everything, and he's ready to help you. Trust him, Margaret, and trust yourself. You are stronger than they could ever imagine. Fight for what's yours. Fight for your dignity. I love you. Frank." I read the letter 3 times, my mind struggling to process what Frank was telling me. I reached for the large envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. The first document was a detailed accounting of our family finances, showing transfers and withdrawals I had never seen before. Over the past 18 months, nearly $200,000 had been systematically moved from accounts Frank and I held jointly. The money had gone to accounts in Michael's name, Vanessa's name, and to a business entity called Cascade Development LLC. I felt sick. There were copies of loan applications where our house had been used as collateral without my knowledge. Forged signatures. My signature, copied so expertly I might have believed I had signed them if I didn't know with absolute certainty that I had never seen these documents before. There were emails between Michael and Vanessa discussing their plan, talking about how they needed to move quickly before the old man figures out what we're doing. One email from Vanessa to Michael made my blood run cold. Your father's health is declining faster than we expected. We need to accelerate the timeline. If he dies before we get the house transferred, your mother will have too much control. We need to isolate her, convince her she's not capable. I've been planting seeds, making comments about her memory, her confusion. Once your dad is gone, we move her into a facility within days. Grief will make her compliant. We'll have full control before she understands what's happening. I couldn't breathe. My own son, my daughter-in-law, they had been planning this. They had been stealing from us while Frank was alive, and now that he was gone, they were executing the final phase. The nursing home wasn't about my safety. It was about removing me from my own home so they could sell it and take everything Frank and I had worked our entire lives to build. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at those papers. At some point, I heard Michael and Vanessa moving around the house, opening cabinets. Their voices carrying down the hallway as they discussed paint colors and renovation plans as if the house were already theirs. As if I had already ceased to exist. Something hardened inside me then. Something cold and clear and sharp. I had spent 75 years being kind, being accommodating. I had raised 3 children, worked as a nurse for 37 years, volunteered at the church, given everything. And this was what it had earned me. My own son plotting to institutionalize me and steal my home while my husband's body was barely cold in the ground. I picked up my phone and dialed the number at the bottom of Frank's letter. A man answered on the second ring. Morrison Legal Services, this is James Morrison. Mr. Morrison, my name is Margaret Chen. My husband Frank passed away last week. He left me a letter telling me to call you. There was a pause, and then his voice changed, becoming gentler but also more alert. Mrs. Chen, I've been expecting your call. I'm so sorry for your loss. Frank was a good man. I imagine you found the materials he left for you? I have. My son and his wife have stolen from us. They forged documents. They're trying to force me into a nursing home. They're here now, acting as if it's already theirs. I know. Frank came to me about 8 months ago when he first discovered the discrepancies. We've been documenting everything since then. Mrs. Chen, I need you to listen carefully. Don't confront them yet. Don't tell them what you know. I have injunctions ready to file. We have evidence of fraud and elder financial abuse, and we have protections in place to prevent them from selling the house. But we need to do this strategically. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning at 9? Yes. Good. In the meantime, act normal. Don't let them know you've found anything. Can you do that? I thought about the past 53 years with Frank. The way we had navigated crises together, always with quiet strength. Yes, Mr. Morrison, I can do that. One more thing. Frank wanted me to tell you something if this day came. He said to remind you of the time you faced down that hospital administrator who tried to fire you for reporting patient neglect. He said you showed him then what real courage looked like. I closed my eyes, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. I remembered that day. The administrator had been furious, threatening everything. But I had stood my ground because it was right. Frank had held me that night while I cried, but he had also told me he had never been more proud. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up and sat there for another moment, gathering myself. Then I stood, walked to the bathroom, washed my face, and fixed my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror. This 75-year-old woman with silver hair and lines around her eyes. I looked tired, but I didn't look broken. Not yet. I walked back into the living room where Michael and Vanessa were examining the china cabinet, discussing which pieces would be worth selling. They looked up when I entered. Mom, Michael said, attempting a smile. We were just talking about dinner? Chinese, maybe? As if ordering takeout would somehow soften the blow. I smiled back at him and I watched him relax slightly. That sounds lovely. But actually, I'm quite tired. I think I'll just have some soup and go to bed early. Vanessa exchanged a glance with Michael. Of course, Margaret. You must be exhausted. Why don't you rest? We'll take care of everything out here. Take care of everything. I nodded agreeably. That's very thoughtful. The lie tasted bitter, but I swallowed it down. I had learned long ago that sometimes survival meant playing a role until you were safe enough to speak the truth. I returned to my bedroom and locked the door. Then I spent the rest of the evening reading every document Frank had left me. There were bank statements, recorded phone conversations where Vanessa told Michael, "Your mother is so naive, she doesn't even check the accounts." On another, Michael laughed and said, "She'll never know. Dad's too sick to pay attention." Frank had updated his will 3 months before he died. The house was in a trust with me as sole beneficiary. Michael was specifically excluded due to financial misconduct and breach of familial trust. Frank had been thorough. He had been protecting me even in death. That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed listening to Michael and Vanessa in the guest room, hearing their muffled voices discussing their plans. At one point, I heard Vanessa say, "She was so pathetic today, just accepted everything." And Michael's response, "I almost feel bad. Almost. But honestly, time for her to step aside." Step aside, as if my existence was blocking their path, as if I was an obstacle rather than the woman who had given him life. The next morning, I dressed carefully in a navy blue suit, applied minimal makeup, and pulled my hair back in a neat bun. I left a note saying I had errands to run. James Morrison's office was downtown. I arrived early and sat in my car until exactly 9 o'clock, then took the elevator to the 3rd floor. James Morrison was younger than I expected, maybe 50, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Mrs. Chen, please sit down. Can I get you water?" "Water would be nice, thank you." He poured water and settled into the chair across from me rather than behind his desk. It was a gesture of respect. I want to start by saying again how sorry I am about Frank. He came to me last fall, very concerned about financial irregularities. We worked together to document everything. First, we need to file a police report. The forgery alone is a serious crime. Second, we'll file for an emergency protective order to prevent Michael and Vanessa from accessing any accounts or selling property. Third, we'll notify the bank and begin recovering the stolen funds. Fourth, we'll send them a cease and desist letter. Will this be public? That depends on how they respond. If they agree to return the money and walk away, we might avoid criminal charges. But Mrs. Chen, I need to be honest. People who have gone this far rarely just give up. They'll fight. They'll probably claim you're confused or suffering from dementia. You need to be prepared. I thought about Vanessa's email about planting seeds. I'm prepared. I've worked as a nurse for almost 40 years. I have medical records showing I'm of sound mind. And I have my daughter Karen, who will testify. Good. I've drafted all the necessary documents. I need your signature. He pulled out a folder with papers authorizing him to act on my behalf. The police report, the protective order application, and a demand letter to Michael and Vanessa. I signed each document carefully. When I finished, James gathered them. I'll file these today. The protective order should be granted within 48 hours. Once in place, they'll be legally required to leave and stay away pending investigation. I left his office feeling both empowered and terrified. I drove to First National Bank and used Frank's keys to access the safety deposit box. Inside, I found additional documents. $10,000 in cash with a note saying, "Emergency funds if you need to leave quickly," and a jeweler's box containing my grandmother's diamond ring. A note attached said, "I found this in Michael's room 6 months ago. He took it. I got it back without him knowing. It belongs to you and eventually to Karen." I sat in the privacy cubicle and cried. Frank had known everything and still tried to shield me from pain while ensuring I would be protected. I called my daughter Karen in Boston. She answered on the first ring. Mom, how are you doing? Karen, I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The envelope, the evidence, the attorney, the police report, the protective order. I heard her breath catch, heard her whisper, "Oh my God," several times. Mom, I knew something was wrong. I tried to talk to Dad about it, but he said he was handling it. I should have pushed harder. Karen, stop. Your father handled it perfectly. But I need you to know what's happening, because when the police serve that protective order tomorrow, Michael and Vanessa are going to claim I'm confused, that I'm being manipulated. I need you ready to back me up. I'll be on the next flight. I'll be there by tonight. Karen arrived the next morning, having taken a red-eye. I heard the taxi and went to the door before Michael and Vanessa woke. Karen dropped her suitcase and hugged me tightly. Mom, are you okay? I am now that you're here. We made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. Karen wanted to see everything, so I showed her Frank's envelope. I watched her face change as she read the emails, the bank statements, listened to the recordings. How could he do this? You're our mother. I don't know, sweetheart. Michael and Vanessa emerged around 9:30, surprised to find Karen. Karen, what are you doing here? Michael asked uncertainly. I came to see my mother. Is that a problem? The doorbell rang at exactly 10 o'clock. 2 police officers stood on the porch. Margaret Chen? Yes, that's me. We're here to serve a protective order and criminal investigation notice to Michael Chen and Vanessa Chen. Are they present? Yes, please come in. Michael and Vanessa appeared in the foyer, their faces shifting from confusion to alarm. The male officer stepped forward. Michael Chen, Vanessa Chen, you're being served with an emergency protective order filed by Margaret Chen. You are hereby ordered to immediately vacate this premises and to have no contact with Mrs. Chen, pending investigation of allegations of elder financial abuse, fraud, and forgery. Here are the court documents. Vanessa's face went white. Michael looked from the officers to me, his expression shocked and furious. Mom, what is this? What are you doing? I stepped forward, meeting his eyes. I'm protecting myself, Michael. I know everything. The stolen money, the forged documents, your plan to put me in a home and sell this house. Your father knew too. He left me evidence of everything you've done. That's insane. We were trying to help you. You're not capable of managing things anymore. Stop. Karen's voice cut through the room. Don't you dare gaslight her. We have bank records, recordings, emails where you discuss your plan in detail. You're not helping her. You're robbing her. Vanessa found her voice high and defensive. This is ridiculous. Margaret, you're confused. You're grieving and not thinking clearly. The female officer interrupted. Ma'am, I suggest you stop talking and consult an attorney. You have 30 minutes to gather your belongings and leave. If you refuse, you'll be arrested. Michael turned and walked upstairs, Vanessa following. 15 minutes later, they came back down with their suitcases. Michael stopped in front of me. You're making a mistake. We were only trying to protect you. I looked at my son and saw a stranger. No, Michael. I spent my whole life protecting you. It's time I protected myself. They left without another word. When the door closed, I felt something release in my chest. Karen wrapped her arm around my shoulders. You did it, Mom. Your father did it. He made it possible. Over the following weeks, the investigation unfolded. The police confirmed that Michael and Vanessa had stolen over $200,000 over 18 months. They had forged documents, used our house as collateral for failed business ventures, and planned to institutionalize me to cover their debts. The district attorney offered a deal: return all stolen funds, drop any claim to Frank's estate, sign a confession, and accept probation. The alternative was prosecution for multiple felonies. They accepted the deal. Michael called once. Mom, please, you're destroying my life. You destroyed your own life when you decided to steal from your parents, I said quietly. And you destroyed your father's trust in mine. I hope it was worth it. He hung up, I haven't spoken to him since. The money was returned in full. I used some to establish a scholarship fund in Frank's name. I gave a donation to the hospice that had helped care for Frank, and I set up a trust for Karen's children. I still live in our house. Karen visits every few months. She brings my grandchildren, 2 beautiful girls who will grow up barely knowing their Uncle Michael. I don't speak ill of him to them. I simply tell them that sometimes families grow apart, and that's sad, but sometimes necessary. The house feels different now, emptier in some ways, but more peaceful. I have taken over Frank's workshop. I find comfort working with wood the way he did, creating simple things I donate to the church bazaar. It's my way of staying connected to him. I think a lot about betrayal and forgiveness, about what we owe our children and what they owe us. I think about the difference between being selfless and being a doormat. For so many years, I believed being a good mother meant always sacrificing. But Frank taught me that there's a difference between loving someone and letting them abuse that love. Some nights, I sit in Frank's chair and talk to him, thanking him for the gift he gave me in that envelope. He saved my dignity, my home, my future. He gave me back my power when I didn't even know I had lost it. And in doing so, he taught me one final lesson, that protecting yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's survival. I'm 75 years old. I buried my husband. I discovered my son's betrayal. I fought for my rights and won. And I'm still here, still standing, still living in the home Frank and I built together. I'm not broken. I'm not defeated. I'm exactly who I've always been. A woman who loves deeply, who works hard, who believes in justice, and who refuses to be diminished. My story isn't unique. Every day, elder abuse happens behind closed doors, hidden by shame and family loyalty. Children steal from aging parents, convincing themselves they're entitled to inheritance before their parents have even died. They manipulate, they lie, they isolate their victims. They count on grief and confusion to keep their crimes hidden. But sometimes the victims fight back. Sometimes they have allies who prepare them for battle, even from beyond the grave. Sometimes they find the strength to say no, to stand up, to demand justice. I survived. I'm still here. And I want anyone reading this to know that you can survive too. You don't have to accept mistreatment because someone is family. You don't have to sacrifice your security to keep the peace. You don't have to go quietly into the institutions your abusers have planned for you. Fight. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Seek legal help. Tell someone what's happening. Your life, your home, your legacy matters. You matter. Frank knew that. He made sure I knew it too. And now I'm making sure you know it. So I'll leave you with the question that haunts me. What would you do if the person you loved most, the child you raised and sacrificed everything for, betrayed you like this? Would you have the courage to fight back, knowing it meant losing that relationship forever? Sometimes protecting yourself isn't about winning or revenge. It's about surviving with your dignity intact. It's about refusing to let anyone, even your own children, erase your worth. Frank taught me that. And I hope, wherever he is, he knows I learned the lesson well. It's been 5 years since that morning when the police arrived at my door. 5 years since I watched Michael and Vanessa leave with their suitcases. 5 years since I chose myself over the illusion of family harmony. I'm 80 years old now, and I wake up each morning in the same bedroom I shared with Frank, in the same house we built our life in, and I feel something I didn't expect to feel at this age. Peace. The house has changed in small ways. I converted one of the spare bedrooms into a sewing room where I make quilts for the church charity auctions. Frank's workshop, which I once thought I could never enter without him, has become my sanctuary. I still make small wooden items, birdhouses mostly, and I've gotten quite good at it. Last month, the community center asked if I would teach a beginner's woodworking class for seniors. I said yes. Frank would have loved that. Karen visits 4 or 5 times a year now, always bringing Emma and Sophie, my granddaughters who are 10 and 8. They love the house, Love exploring the attic where I've kept boxes of old photographs and costume jewelry and books from when their mother was young. Sophie asked me last Christmas why Uncle Michael never comes to visit. I told her the truth in the gentlest way I could. Sometimes people make choices that hurt the people who love them, and sometimes the consequences of those choices last a very long time. She thought about that for a moment, then nodded solemnly and went back to playing with the Victorian dollhouse Frank had built for Karen 40 years ago. Emma, the older one, is more perceptive. She pulled me aside during that same visit and said, "Grandma, Mom told me that Uncle Michael tried to steal from you and Grandpa, that he tried to put you in a home so he could take your house. Is that true?" I looked into her serious young face and saw intelligence and compassion beyond her years. "Yes, sweetheart, that's true." She hugged me then, fiercely, and whispered, "I'm glad you didn't let him. I'm glad you fought back." Out of the mouths of babes, as they say. Her words meant more to me than she could possibly understand. I haven't spoken to Michael since that brief phone call 5 years ago. I've heard things through mutual acquaintances, the way you do in a city like Portland where social circles overlap. He and Vanessa divorced 2 years after the investigation concluded. Apparently, the stress of the legal proceedings, the financial restitution, and the stain on both their reputations proved too much for their marriage. Michael moved to Seattle, works in some capacity for a tech company. Vanessa stayed in Portland, but I don't know what became of her. I don't ask. I don't want to know. Sometimes people in the community, people who knew our family for decades, ask me about Michael with carefully neutral expressions, waiting to see how I'll respond. I've learned to say simply, "We're not in contact," and change the subject. Most people are tactful enough not to push. A few have tried to encourage reconciliation, suggesting that life is short and family is important, and surely whatever happened could be forgiven. I smile politely at these well-meaning people and think about the emails where my son and daughter-in-law plotted to institutionalize me while I was still grieving. I think about the forged signatures, the stolen money, the casual cruelty of their plan. And I remain silent, because some things cannot be explained to people who have never experienced that particular brand of betrayal. But here's what surprises me. I'm not bitter. I thought I would be. I thought the anger and hurt would calcify into something hard and permanent, that I would spend my remaining years defined by what Michael did to me. Instead, I find that most days I simply don't think about him at all. I think about Karen and her girls. I think about my weekly card game with 3 other widows from the church. I think about the vegetable garden I planted last spring, my first real attempt at growing food since Frank died, and how satisfying it was to eat tomatoes and zucchini I had grown with my own hands. I think about the book club I joined, how we read everything from mystery novels to literary fiction, how we argue passionately about characters and themes over wine and cheese. I think about the fact that I'm still here, still independent, still living on my own terms in my own home. Last month, I did something I never thought I would do. I started volunteering at a local nonprofit that provides legal advocacy for elderly victims of financial abuse. I meet with people who are going through what I went through, people whose children or caregivers or supposed friends have stolen from them, manipulated them, tried to control them. I sit across from these frightened, confused, heartbroken people, and I tell them my story. I show them that it's possible to fight back. I connect them with resources, with attorneys like James Morrison who specialize in elder law, with social workers who understand the dynamics of family abuse. I hold their hands while they cry and I tell them the truth. It's going to be hard, it's going to hurt, but you deserve better than this. You deserve dignity and respect and safety. One woman, Margaret, yes, we share a name, which felt like fate, was 78 when her grandson drained her bank account to feed a gambling addiction. She came to me broken, ashamed, convinced it was somehow her fault for not being more careful. I recognized that shame. I had felt it too, that sense that I should have known, should have been smarter, should have protected myself better. I told her what I wished someone had told me earlier, that betrayal by someone you love isn't a reflection of your judgment or your worth. It's a reflection of their character, not yours. She cried in my arms, this stranger who felt like a sister, and when she left my office that day, she stood a little straighter. 6 months later, she called to tell me her grandson had been convicted of elder abuse, and she had recovered most of her money. She thanked me for giving her courage. But I think she always had the courage. She just needed permission to use it. I think about Frank constantly, but the grief has changed shape. It's no longer the sharp, cutting pain of those first months. Now it's more like a dull ache, a permanent companion that I've learned to live with. I talk to him still, especially when I'm in his workshop or sitting in his chair in the evenings. I tell him about Karen's promotion at work, about Emma's straight A's in school, about Sophie's piano recital. I tell him about the people I've helped through the advocacy program. I tell him that his final gift to me, that envelope full of evidence and instructions, didn't just save me. It's helping me save others. I like to think he can hear me. I like to think he's proud. I've thought a lot over these 5 years about the nature of family, about what we owe each other, and what happens when those bonds are broken beyond repair. I was raised to believe that family is everything, that blood ties are sacred and permanent, that a good mother never gives up on her children. But I've come to understand that love without boundaries isn't really love. It's enabling. It's self-destruction dressed up as virtue. Michael didn't need my unconditional forgiveness. He needed consequences. He needed to understand that his actions had permanently altered our relationship, that trust once shattered cannot be wished back into wholeness. Do I wish things had been different? Of course. I wish I had the son I thought I raised. The one who would have grieved with me when Frank died, who would have supported me through widowhood, who would have honored his father's memory by protecting rather than exploiting me. I wish my grandchildren through Michael existed and could grow up knowing both sides of their family. I wish I didn't have to explain to Emma and Sophie why their uncle is essentially a stranger to them. I wish a lot of things, but I don't wish I had stayed silent. I don't wish I had accepted their plan and allowed myself to be placed in Maplewood Gardens while they sold my home and spent my money. I don't wish I had chosen a false peace over real justice. Because here's what I know now that I didn't know 5 years ago. Self-preservation isn't selfish. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Protecting yourself from people who mean you harm, even when those people are your own children, isn't a moral failing. It's survival. It's dignity. It's self-respect. I'm 80 years old. Statistically speaking, I probably have fewer years ahead of me than behind me. But whatever time I have left, I'm going to spend it living authentically, surrounded by people who genuinely care about me, in the home I earned, on my own terms. I'm going to watch my granddaughters grow up. I'm going to keep making quilts and birdhouses. I'm going to help other elderly people stand up to their abusers. I'm going to read good books and eat good food and laugh with good friends. I'm going to honor Frank's memory by living the life he fought to protect for me. And if Michael ever reaches out, if he ever finds the humility and courage to truly apologize, not with excuses or justifications, but with genuine remorse and accountability, I honestly don't know what I would do. I'd like to think I'd be open to some form of reconciliation, that I'd be capable of forgiveness if he demonstrated real change. But I also know that some wounds cut too deep, that some betrayals break something that can never be fully repaired. Maybe that makes me hard. Maybe that makes me unforgiving. Or maybe it just makes me human. What I do know is this. I don't need Michael's apology to be whole. I don't need his redemption to validate my worth. I don't need his presence in my life to be happy. I already have everything I need. I have Karen and her beautiful family. I have friends who have proven their loyalty. I have a community that values my contributions. I have my health and my mind and my independence. I have this house, these memories, this life I've built from the rubble of betrayal. I have myself. And after 80 years on this earth, I've finally learned that sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's everything. Frank once told me, in one of our late-night conversations about mortality and meaning, that the measure of a life well lived isn't in avoiding pain or conflict. It's in how you respond when pain and conflict are unavoidable, in whether you let adversity diminish you or define you or strengthen you. I think about that often now. Michael's betrayal could have destroyed me. It almost did. But instead, because of Frank's foresight and love, because of my own resilience that I didn't even know I possessed, because of Karen's support and James Morrison's expertise and the justice system actually working the way it's supposed to, I survived. More than survived, I prevailed. And so I offer this epilogue not as an ending, but as a continuation. My story didn't end when the protective order was served, or when the money was returned, or when Michael and Vanessa faced consequences for their actions. My story continues every day I wake up in this house, every time I help another elder abuse victim find their voice, every moment I spend with Emma and Sophie teaching them that women can be strong and independent at any age, every quiet evening when I sit in Frank's chair and feel grateful for the life I still have. To anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, who is facing betrayal or abuse, or the impossible choice between family loyalty and self-preservation, I want you to know, you are not alone. You are not weak for being hurt. You are not vindictive for seeking justice. You are not unforgiving for setting boundaries. You are strong. You are worthy. You deserve better, and it's never too late to fight for yourself. That's what Frank taught me. That's what I'm teaching others. And that's the legacy I want to leave behind when my time finally comes. Not the legacy of a woman who was victimized, but the legacy of a woman who refused to stay a victim. The legacy of someone who chose dignity over false harmony, truth over comfortable lies, self-respect over misplaced guilt. I'm 80 years old. I'm a widow. I'm estranged from my son, and I'm absolutely fine. Better than fine, actually. I'm free. And I hope, wherever you are in your own journey, that you can be free too.